that I don't know quite how to face. So I lay down my life and hope tonight that somehow I might arise. 'Cause I will rise out of the ashes right. From this trouble I find and the struggle on the ground and rise. 'Cause I will rise out of these ashes right. From the struggle I find and the struggle on the ground and rise. 'Cause he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. Yes, he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise.
Good morning, Hope Church. Okay, you know, the first service is getting you beat. We should do it again. Good morning, Hope Church. Yes. All right, Hope Family, well, you did it again. We had an excellent Rock the Ridge. And I would just like to say a big, huge thank you to all of our volunteers. Give yourselves a hand. You guys are awesome. It was a huge success. So now we get to enjoy an exciting summer, and we're going to do it again in the fall. Yeah, sound like a plan? Okay, so in your bulletin, you'll find a lime green card. That's our contact card. We're trying to update our directory and maybe get it to where people can have one. So if you have currently filled it out, thank you very much. If you haven't, update it. Please update it. And if you are a guest or this is your first time, this is a wonderful way for us to get to know you a little bit and for you to ask some questions if you have any. Also, the bulletin is full of information. We've got stuff that's going on during the week. All the people that you see running around are volunteers, what we're about, all kinds of cool stuff. So check out your bulletin. And also, if you have any questions, everybody around here is wonderfully friendly. So don't hesitate to ask. Okay, and so I have something exciting to share with you. Does anybody know how wonderful our youth program is? Yeah, we have a great youth program. And it's so important because it's what, builds up our life. And that's where we start and that's where we come from. So I'm excited to say that our youth is going to be doing a little fundraiser on May 31st after the services. I think they're going to do it after each service. We're going to have out in the quad, they're going to offer a Mexican food lunch to go. And Juan and Rosie are going to cook. And we're going to see if we can't get some money raised. And they're going to be out there serving you. And you just take your lunch money and get some Mexican food, right? And you can take it home to go or you can hang out and eat. But it's going to be really great for everybody. So don't forget your lunch money that day, May 31st, okay? All right, well, since we are a family and we all work together to take care of each other, and that's what it's all about, right? Between Rock the Ridge and our youth programs. And so find 3 people in your Hope family and welcome them to the friendliest church this side of anywhere else.
Why are you crying? Let me lift up your face. Just don't turn away. Why are you looking for love? Why are you still searching as if I'm not enough? To where will you go, son? Tell me where will you go? To where will you go? I'll be by your side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Whenever you call and still fight these hands that are holding you. My hands are holding you. Look at these hands at my side. They swallow the grave on that night when I drank the world sin, so I could carry you and give you life. Wanna give you life. I'll be by your side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Whenever you call and don't fight these hands that are holding you. My hands are holding you. 'Cause I love you. I want you to know that I love you. I'll never let you go. I'll be by your side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Whenever you call and please don't fight these hands that are holding you. My hands are holding you by my side whenever you fall in the dead of night. Whenever you call and please don't fight these hands that are holding you. My hands are holding you.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. My chains are gone, have been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to feel, and grace my fears relieved. How precious Lord has promised good to me. His word, my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as a life endures. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me, and like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. The earth shall send His own like snow, the sun forbear to shine. But God who called me here below will be forever mine, will be forever mine. You are forever mine. We serve a God so powerful. He can drive out demons. He can part seas, and He can raise the dead. How awesome is it that He is also so loving that He would sacrifice His own Son to give us hope. Jesus came, He led a sinless life, and He died on a cross to save us. And as we take communion this morning, let's remember the body and the blood that washes us clean and offers us hope.
Your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heaven, and your faithfulness stretches to the sky. And your righteousness is like a mighty mountain, yeah, and your justice flows like the ocean's tide. I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadows of your wings. And your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heaven, stretches to the sky. Your righteousness is like a mighty mountain, yeah. And your justice flows like the ocean's tide. And I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadows of your wings. And I will lift my voice to worship you, my King. And I will find my strength in the shadows of your wings. Your love, oh Lord, reaches to the heavens, and your faithfulness stretches to the sky. I have a timekeeper. It's these two buttons on my shirt, and it's throwing me off. So give me a second. Sorry. Come to me now and lay your head over me. Will you find me tonight? Say it will be alright. I will believe. Broken and and I know you're wrong to me, that I only come home when I'm so all alone. But I do believe that not everything is gonna be the way you think it ought to be. Seems like every time I try to make it right, it all comes down on me. Please say, honestly, you won't give up on me. I shall believe. I shall believe. Open the door. Show me your face tonight. Oh, and I know it's true. No one heals me like you. You hold the key. Never again will I turn away from you. I'm so heavy tonight, but your love is alright, and I do believe that not everything is gonna be the way you think it ought to be. Seems like every time I try to make it right, it all comes down on me. Please say, honestly, you won't give up on me. I shall believe. I everything is gonna be the way you think it ought to be. Seems like every time I try to make it right, it all comes down on me. Please say honestly you won't give up on me. And I shall believe. I shall believe. I shall believe.
Hey, Hope Church second service. You glad to be here today? Amen. Good to see all of you. Thank you for joining us. Also, if you're watching online, thank you for tuning in and being a part of our celebration. What a day yesterday. I can't thank you guys enough for so much hard work, and I'm frantically looking for my little notes where I had the breakdown just a minute ago before I got up here. Ah, right there. I was standing on it. It was a snake. It would have bit me. I think about that a lot where I live. Anyway, our face painting brought in $57.82. Yeah. Our snow cones, $90.10. How many snow cones did we serve? 350 snow cones. That's a lot of snow cones. Our popcorn brought $75.10. Our food brought $300. The food with the burgers and the stuff that Carol puts there on the right as you go with the food area, $367.67. And then Juan's burrito table on the left, $62.65. The stage bucket got $156. Massage got $71, and I was so cool. Wendy had a surgery not very long ago, and I was so touched seeing her there rubbing and serving other people, and that was really cool. And then the raffle extraordinaire brought $1,091. Yeah. So that comes to a total of $2,010.34. That's awesome. That is awesome. And this week I get to walk into the Recreation and Park District office and hand them a check and say, this is because you're doing good and you're being a blessing to our community and you're helping out kids and families. And then I get to slip away quickly, and they'll say, who was that masked man? We didn't even get to thank him. It's one of my favorite things I get to do, and appreciate all of you. There's so many people that work so hard, I can't really go into names because there's so many volunteers around here. We have a volunteer revolution going on, and I thank you all for that. Now, we're entering a 3-part mini-series today, and I'm excited about it. We're going to have 3 stories under the subject of why we hope, and I'm going to start it today. And hope is an interesting word, and I like simple definitions. And so the one that I like about hope is it is desire plus expectation. You have to have both desire and expectation link up to have hope. When I was a kid in school and I had a test, if I didn't study, I desired a good grade, but I didn't expect it. I didn't have hope. When I did something really bad, I didn't desire my dad to spank me, but I expected it. I didn't have hope. You got to have both line up to have hope. We desire to go to heaven, and we expect it because of Jesus who overcame death. And we expect to live with joy even through difficulty because God is with us. And so it's desire plus expectation. And I want to start off with a story about someone called Legion, and it really wasn't the man's name, but it was because he possessed spirits. And spirits is kind of a spooky thing when you read about evil spirits and demons and the devil in the Bible. And I believe there is a devil, that he was a fallen angel full of pride and beauty and wanted himself glorified and rebelled against God. And then just as God has these angels that submit to him, to his glory, these messengers, Satan has rebellious angels. He has these demons, and they have our number, and they go after us. And I believe it not only because Jesus talked about it and Paul talked about it, the New Testament writers, but because also I can be tempted or have thoughts to do some of the dumbest things and things I don't want to do or selfish things I don't want to do. I believe there is an evil in this world, the evil that's going on, that there's a force behind it. There's an unseen realm that the Bible talks about. But I think because we're in Christ, we don't have to be preoccupied with that and live in fear and see a demon under every bush, because Jesus conquers demons. And I love C.S. Lewis. He has this quote that talks about being aware of the two extremes. He says, there are two equal and opposite errors in which our race can fall about the devils. One is to disbelieve in their existence. The other is to believe and to feel an excessive and unhealthy interest in them. They themselves are equally pleased by both errors and hail a materialist or a magician with the same delight. And so one extreme is that, there's no devil, there's nothing to worry about when there is evil in this world. And the other extreme is to be into it and to be afraid of it and live in fear, terror, or seek it. Jesus is Lord, and that's all that matters. But there's a story about someone named Legion, as I said, I want to read about in Mark 5, verse 1. It says, they went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an evil spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore. So he had this supernatural strength. Not even with a chain, for he had often been chained hand and foot. But he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough, even enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus, everybody say, when he saw Jesus. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, what do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Swear to God that you won't torture me. For Jesus had said to him, come out of this man, you evil spirit. The Bible talks about how the demons even believe and shudder. James talks about that. These spirits see the power of Jesus. And notice Jesus sees a man. He sees this man, this person. He doesn't just see this guy that's been gashing himself and crying out. He sees a person, and everybody else is afraid of this guy. And then Jesus asked him, what is your name? My name is Legion. Legion is a Roman unit that was 3,000 to 6,000. So he's got a multitude of spirits. He says, my name is Legion. He replied, for we are many. And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. Demons have a geographical area, and it's believed by some that they had to have a place to live. That's why they wanted to be in the body. But there's a large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, send us among the pigs, allow us to go into them. I guess thinking that they will have bodies to inhabit and they can stay there. He gave them permission, and the evil spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside. And the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man and told about the pigs as well. Then the people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. You know, if this happened today, we'd have all kinds of organizations showing up on defense of the pigs. And I'll leave that to you Bible studies this week to discuss the ins and outs of that. But Jesus is Lord of all is what I believe, and he allowed them to go out. And the spirits are the evil ones that kill the pigs. And when the people hear about it, some people don't want Jesus to stay around because it wasn't financially a good thing for them to lose their pigs. They're more worried about their money, their connection, their stuff than really following Jesus. So it's a sad thing that they see this incredible miracle, but they still want Jesus to leave. But it says, as Jesus was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him. Jesus did not let him, but said, Go home to your family and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he had mercy on you. So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. You know, can't you just picture this guy? This guy had been in such a horrible shape, and Jesus does this miracle and sets him free. And the first point that I have, if you're a note taker on the back of your bulletin, is that when Jesus shows up, people are set free and made new. People are set free and made new. This guy is in misery. This guy lives in tombs. Can you imagine living in graves, where graves are? This guy is gashing himself with stones. He's crying out. Everybody, no one wants to be around him. No one wants to be with him. He's out of control. He's got supernatural strength from these demons. No one can stop him. They're afraid of him. They warn people if they hear him. Think of the noises at night when he's crying out. And then he meets Jesus. And Jesus sets him free. And Jesus makes him a new person. And when they come out, he's clothed and he's in his right mind. Can you imagine that? He changed his life completely. And Jesus does that for everyone who comes to him. He sets us free and he makes us new. Number two, when Jesus shows up, people find a life of meaning and purpose. When Jesus shows up, people find meaning and purpose. He's gone from howling in agony, no one wanting to be with him, no community, nothing, to a whole new person. And now God's going to work through him to be a display. God's going to use him, and he's got that purpose to bring glory to God because he's going to tell the good things that God's done for him. Number three, people become messengers with words of deliverance and healing. When Jesus shows up, people become messengers for him. They're contagious with this message, that this message can bring healing and deliverance just like it did for them. Can you picture in your mind this guy following Jesus? Jesus is trying to get in the boat, and this guy is begging him, please, Lord, let me go with you. Please let me go with you. I want to be with you, Jesus. And Jesus says, no. He's got work for him to do. He says, I want you to go back home, and I want you to tell your family and your friends what the Lord has done for you. I've got a job for you. I'm not just saving you, making you new. I've given you meaning and purpose in your life and a mission in your life to go and tell, Imagine the people that see this guy walking around sharing the message of good news, sharing about Jesus and what Jesus can do in your life. That's hope. I want to show you a picture here. That's me. I know you're impressed with the helmet hair. A friend of mine posted that, and another one of my friends that I play ball with, he said, look at the helmet hair. Is that Darth Vader? Luke, I am your father. Two things hit me when I saw this picture. The first one that hit me was I didn't have a clue when or where this was. I knew the general time in my life, but I didn't know where, and so I wrote my friend that posted it, hey, when, do you remember where this was at? And he goes, yeah, it was my wedding. You were my best man. It's like, oh. But I felt better in a minute because I go, well, what was the date? And he goes, well, you know how things were back then. I'm not really sure. He didn't know the exact day of his wedding. He knew the month and the year. It was March of 1978. So I felt better then. But the second thing that really hit me when I saw it, because I hadn't seen that look for a long time, was my eyes. Because I remember that time when I look at my eyes. That is a lost boy right there. That's a mean boy right there. Lonely boy right there. And when I grew up, I always say my mom taught me about the love of God, and my dad taught me about the thunder of God. You know, there is a God, you're not him, and if you mess with him, you die. You know, and it was kind of a pretty good balance. And when I would come home heartbroken or I make a mistake, my mom would quote Romans 8, you know, God works together all things for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, you know. And I'd get dumped and she'd quote that verse, you know, or something would go wrong. And I always, I know, Romans 8. Well, guess what I did with my kids, Romans 8. And anyway, my dad was this huge figure in our family, Portuguese man that worked hard. He worked in the oil patch. Then he left that to go to barber school in Fresno, and I went to kindergarten in Clovis down in the valley, and that was an interesting time. We ate a lot of beans when he was going to barber school, and we had 3 kids in the family. And then we went back to Coalinga, where I was born. He had a 4-chair shop there, and it was going well. I then got to move to Santa Cruz for a couple of years, year and a half, and it was interesting in the 60s to be in Santa Cruz in the 60s, and your dad is a barber. Are you with me? Everybody had long hair, and he learned different kinds of styling and cuts to try to make it. And my mom worked hard at the Wrigley's factory there to help make ends meet. It was a tough time there financially, but I watched my dad. He had a knack to make relationships, and I learned about doing flyers with my dad. When we'd start a new shop in town, we'd go put flyers everywhere. And I would watch him talk to the business leaders in the town and the main street. He'd always find a main street to get the shop on. And he was always good to everyone and really wanted to cut it the way they wanted. It really bothered him if the person didn't like the job he did, regardless of what he thought he wanted to do. And it impressed me. He would talk to people that were disabled or people that sometimes people in town weren't kind to. He always was. He would kid them and he would make them laugh. And I still remember watching him big as life, and he taught us things that his now great-grandkids now have been passed down, called Georgisms, or the George. Things like no worky, no eaty. Work comes before play. The job's not worth doing unless you do it right the first time. And so that's kind of what I grew up in. And I was blessed with the gift of encouraging others, helping others find joy in doing my chores, for example. And I would bring him iced tea or something, and I would say, now remember, you got to edge it too. My dad's really picky. Seriously, if he got home and it wasn't edged, we're in trouble here. And then in sports, I got most inspirational all the time. I even went out for swimming my senior year to lose weight, and there were some girls there, and so I went out for swimming, like the sun and the water. And I never won a race, but I got most inspirational. So it was a natural gift that God gave me to like to encourage people. And I also played football and was a jock. And I went to church and I went to youth groups. And I wasn't one who didn't believe in God. I know some struggle with doubt. And if you struggle with doubts, you're not weird. You're a human being. You just got to keep examining and seeking the truth. But for me, being in creation, being in the mountains, that's one of the things I love about up here. I just felt the presence of God. We'd sing songs at these camps, and I'd believe in, there's a God. But I also like to party. And back then, it was the 70s in high school. We'd moved back to Taft, a beautiful town where there's these golden rolling hills and tumbleweeds blowing by and oil wells. There was booming oil industry at that time, and I worked in the oil fields later. But first in school, football was king in small town, and played ball. And so I would party at the Kager and go to church because my dad was that authority in my life. So I always say I felt guilty at the party and I felt guilty at church. And then my sophomore year in college, I blew my knee out, which I lost the scholarship hope that I had in San Diego, and then my dad died. And it was like my whole world changed at that point. And I was very disillusioned, and I couldn't believe it, watching your dad being dropped in a box in the ground when you didn't know he was going to go so quickly at 43 does something to you. And I went out to Morro Bay with some friends that I played ball. We were going to try to walk on at Cal Poly to play football, and there were some surfer guys. We were all buddies that hung out in these little condos, and I didn't study, and we partied. And with my dad now gone, I thought, I'm just going to go hog wild. I kind of had this idea, growing up in a very conservative church, I kind of had this idea that church isn't fun. I had this fear religious view, but I really wanted to get the heaven thing right, So it's like I want to get it right before I die. But at our church, we believed in a cappella music only. I love a cappella music, but I also would get in my car and listen to Jimi Hendrix. And so it was just kind of a weird dilemma. And then after my dad died, I went to the beach, didn't make it there. I remember laying in my bed, stoned, praying, God, don't let me die like this. I remember thinking about eternity. I think if you think about eternity very long, it'll drive you crazy. On. And so I went back home since I didn't make it on the books, started working for Getty Oil Company, working on an oil rig. This is around this time. And I go, I'm very lonely. I'm finding out the party wasn't so great after all the time. There was no purpose in my life. I didn't feel meaning and purpose. And you know, when you're real popular in school, that's cool, but when you go back as an old dude, you know, people aren't all excited to see you, right? Who's this old guy? And my life felt weird, and I remember being angry, and I started to get in trouble. I got in fights. I did a couple overnighters in jail, and then this one night, there was this one cop who was seeing me around town. I'm driving around in this big old truck, and he you know how it is in a small town, he thought of me as a troublemaker, and I was starting to get in trouble. So he would say things to me. And one night at a football game where I played high school and junior college, big stadium there, 6 years I played there, this girl gave me a drink. And it's not like she was pushing it on me. I said, sure, I'll take it, I'm sure. But the cop came up and he says, what are you drinking, Freitas? And he smelled it, and he immediately slammed a handcuff on my wrist and started turning me around. And I lost my temper because he didn't say anything, and that doesn't mean it's okay to do that. In fact, don't read too much in this like I'm such a tough guy. It wasn't like Will or Tom Thurkington. It was more like picture Barney Fife. Anybody remember Barney Fife? This little cocky guy, and he ended up losing his job because he kept getting into those kind of circumstances, but that didn't make what I did right. Anyway, I knock him down. I'm on top of him, and I'm hitting him, and he's got this little club deal, one of those iron kind or whatever they are, roundhousing me, and I had knots on here. And this crowd goes like this, and my friends are like, Freitas, you got to get out of here. And I got up, and I ran through the crowd with a handcuff on my wrist and a torn disco shirt. And some of you are like, what's a disco shirt? But some of you know what I mean. That's, you know, like the leisure coat here, right? And so I escaped, but you only escape for a while. You know, I escaped, and I went to a friend's house whose dad was the bail bondsman, and my friend hacksawed the cuff off my wrist, and then his dad came home, and we were in big trouble, and he called a man who knew me, who was a highway patrolman named Pablo, who was always good to me, and he came and picked me up, and he said, I'm going to take you to Bakersfield. I don't think you should turn yourself in here at Taft. So he took me over there. My mom met me there. You pay for what you did. You be honest what you did, and Romans 8, you know, and so around this time, I was getting ready to have to do a jail. I ended up doing only 21 days, which is unbelievable, because my record had just started to get bad, and they knew my family history and my dad and all that, and they gave me a break. But it scared the hell out of me, you know, going to jail, seeing gangs and people who hate each other. I saw kids there that I grew up with were now like little wannabe gangsters, and they were lifers and in and out. I did not want to have anything to do with that. Began to pray then, and around that time, I also went to a Van Halen concert, and I saw this pretty girl that I had known in my little church in my small town, only she'd blossomed a little bit. We didn't date when I was in high school because she was in elementary school, but she's 6.5 years younger, and I remembered her, so for some reason, I started to go back to church. And then we got married, and that first year, I'm working on an oil rig, I'm playing fast pitch softball, I'm getting home late, I'm partying with guys, and she got pregnant, and all of a sudden she became an adult. She's reading books about how to take care of your body and prepare for the baby. She's always been that way, you know, but I'm still party animal, and I remember one night at midnight, there was a bang on the door. Freitas. There's this big red-headed center that I played beside for years on the line in football. I open the door, and he headbutts me, and I've got blood coming down, and my wife looks at me like, what have I married, you know? And so the first year we were dealing with that, and she got me, but to go into church, she got me to go to a retreat in Yosemite. One of the persons that I had been kind of separated from was my big brother, and I always looked up to him. And he'd gone back to church, and he's up there doing announcements, and he was well-loved, good guy, but I was embarrassed because I was out there wasted and getting in fights and stuff, so I kind of hide from him in public places. Well, he was on this retreat, too, and I was with a bunch of couples, and what they would do, they have classes in the morning about family, about marriage, really good topics, and then good speakers, and then we would play in the afternoon in the water or bike riding or whatever. But they did have keynotes for those who wanted to stay, and then they had a keynote at night. My group would just do the morning class and the keynote at night. But I heard the keynotes, and I stayed. Every day, all week long, I went. There was little pew things you could sit in, and there was rocks on the side of the stage. I sat on those rocks, and I listened to these guys. And something grabbed me. The word grabbed my heart. I heard an old man quote Psalm 27. About the Lord being the strength of my life, and I thought, I want that anchor, to be fearless, you know. I always wanted in football, I wanted to be a hitter. I didn't want to just kind of hang around, and you know, I wanted to hit, you know. I wanted to, I'd lost it. I didn't have that thing, that meaning, that purpose to give my life to, and this is it. God, I missed it. I blew it. I thought it's not fun. This is changing the world, making an impact. And this other old preacher talked about how God is potter, and you're like a lump of clay, and if you put yourself in his hands, he'll shape you into something that brings him glory. And I wanted that. And I said, God, I give you my life. Use it however you want. And so I was real quiet. Everybody's not used to that. And then I remember I started thinking about going to Bible school to study the Bible. We stopped off at Tracy's grandma's house, Grandma Fleetwood, who's great. She's gone to be with the Lord, but she said, Stan, if you're going to go to preacher school, you can't beat up cops anymore. And everybody died, and I was laying on her floor just thinking about where can I go study the Bible, and I went to Denver. It was a really cool story. My brother was so excited I was trying to change my life, and he took me to Denver, took vacation from his job, and the director saw he had me coming, and he looked at Ron, and he said, Ron, even if you don't want to be a preacher, this knowledge will help you. You can go back to your home church after school. So we're halfway back to California, and my brother looks at me and says, I'm going too. And so we went to school together. I remember we were so afraid. He was afraid because he was out of school for years. He's older, and he never was the best student. And I was real afraid because we had a lot of memory work, and I was worried from smoking so much pot I wouldn't be able to remember the memory work verses. And I'm serious. It was a scary time, but I wanted to learn, and I remember started studying. Tracy was blown away that I'm spending hours studying. She'd never seen me do. I've had to get glasses because I never read so much before, you know. And so there's all these questions. Am I really supposed to do this? God, do you really want me to do it? And I had this feeling that God wanted me to tell my story, to tell the good things that God has done for you, to give people this message of hope, to tell how God will heal, God will deliver you, God will set you free. And I remember this Ephesians passage that I have on the PowerPoint, Ephesians 1, when I first read that new at the school, where it says in verse 3, Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in the heavenly realms with every spiritual blessing in Christ. For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. In love, he predestined us to be adopted as his sons through Jesus Christ, in accordance with his pleasure and will, to the praise of his glorious grace, which he has freely given us in the one he loves. And he goes on talking about how we've been redeemed. And I said, does this mean that God knew before the foundation of the world what he was going to do? And he says, yeah. So if we choose to be the chosen, if we answer the call, the gospel call, we are adopted as sons and daughters, and we're part of something that's older than this world. That blew my mind. We're part of something that goes on forever and ever. There's so many things we get hung up in this life that we do that won't matter 40, 50, 60 years from now. But here's something, we can be a part of something older than the world. So I felt that calling to find that meaning, to find that purpose. And then there's this whole idea, now you're going to be a messenger of deliverance and healing to other people. And so I preached in San Francisco, and that's where I did some homeless street stuff. And I would get out of the BART in the morning, walk out and see people laying on the sidewalks or in the parks and say, hey, how you doing? Talk to them about God. And God started making the little church grow. And then I worked in Oklahoma City for 5 years and finished some university work, and then went to Portland, and the church grew there, and I started getting asked to speak all over, and spoke all over the U.S., and spoke in Alaska, in Canada, in Brazil, and Mexico, and I'd get these long introductions of this incredible, wonderful guy, and I'd be sitting there in the front row before I speak, thinking to myself, if you only knew. And had this overwhelming feeling all these years, I can't believe that God has used me and what God is doing. And then there was still that music thing. We were a cappella in Portland, and I wanted to use music. God gave that gift, and there's verses like in Psalms where it says, let him who play skillfully. He told David to put musicians around the temple, and I bet they were great artists, and that gift brings glory to God. And I wanted to use music the kind of tune that people are listening to in their cars to preach the message. But the only problem is in my fellowship, if you bring a rock band in, you go from a hero to a zero. But I wanted to please God and do what God put in my heart. So I tried it in San Jose, and God did some great things, but the church, I never felt like I fit all the way, and the receptivity was challenged, just a different culture, and I missed that relational kind of feeling like I grew up in a small town. So I went to a mentor, and I said, do you know of any open places? I don't know where to go, And he told me about a few opportunities, but then he said, but I really think you should try Hope in Paradise. And I liked the name, first of all, Hope in Paradise. And I got to come here and do the music thing. And now for 13 times, we started when we couldn't afford it. And that crazy band said, let's go for it. And God has blessed us every single time. And I have this sense of, I can't believe this. And when I say I'm living a dream to people, I know people are thinking, yeah, right. I'm really living a dream. I am Legion. And God saved me, and he made me new, and he set me free, and he gave me meaning and purpose, and I get to be a messenger of deliverance and healing. And every single one of us says, you don't have to go full time. We have people on their jobs that are messengers of healing and deliverance sitting in this building right now. And that is hope. That is hope. I want to show you another picture. This is from not very long ago. A girl that I knew from back in the day before I became a Christian, and she wasn't a Christian. We were part of a crowd that during a dark time. She moved away, and she became a Christian, and I moved away, and as you heard. And so we reconnected on Facebook, and we're blown away that we're both love the Lord. She's been on mission trips. So she told me, she lived out in New York, and now she's in Florida, and she told me, Stan, do you know anybody in the Sacramento area can help my sister? My sister never got off that train. She's had a hard life. Her health is really bad, and her daughter is there trying to fix her house up where it's more healthy, and she has kids there. And I said, I don't know nobody in that area that can help, but we can do something. And so I said, hey, Gina, hey, Megan, you want to go down and do a regional mission trip? And they go, sure. And not knowing what they're getting themselves into. And we asked Chuck to take his truck and gear, and we went down there, and it was so rough. The mold was everywhere. The door, there was a garage bedroom that the door was eaten through and water was coming in, and that was a little girl's bedroom. And what our project was for the day, we said, we'll take care of this room, and we hauled a lot of stuff out and put it out, and then we painted and worked hard, but it was fun, working together. And Chuck sat in the chair because he said his foot was hurt, directing us with his crutch. But he does that anyway, even if his foot was fine. And we worked hard, and afterwards, we got in a circle. And this young girl that's trying to fix the place up to make it safer for his mom, I know she's not a churchgoer, and I said, we did this because we follow Jesus. And do you mind if we pray? And she goes, oh, great. And so I said a prayer for her and how good it is she's trying to help her mom and ask God would help her connect to the rest of the job with people that can help. And after that, she thanked us. I felt so sad leaving there with all that to do. But I talked to her the next couple of days, and she said her little girl who lives in that room said, thank you for my new bedroom. And Lee wrote me this long thank you and card. She sent $200 to Hope just to give to the church. She didn't have to do that, I told her. But let me tell you what I like about this picture. Now, old dude here, 37 years later, but the eyes are different. There's a spark in the eyes. Because God changed his life. God made me new. God made me meaning. We're building relationships that last forever. One by one, we keep making new friends, and we're going to live forever and ever. We have meaning. We have hope. We get to set others free, not us personally, but we're giving them the good news. And that's why we say in Christ, we always have hope. He gives us a new family. If you don't have family, biologically you do in the kingdom of God. You got brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and grandparents. We have forever family. We have a mission to keep just one more. That's meaning and that's purpose. And that's why we hope. Everybody has a story. You may be thinking, oh, I'm not this big druggie, Stan. I've just pretty much lived a normal life, been responsible. By the way, I tried drug dealing once, but I wasn't very good. I was selling cocaine, but I kept snorting up my profit. I just wanted to get some free, but lousy drug dealer. But maybe you didn't get into that kind of stuff. But you know what? You have a creator who made you, and everyone was made to bow their knee to the creator. And I'm glad if you didn't get in some of those hurts and pains, but you still need Jesus. And one day, your body's going to get tired, and all of us in this room, we're going to turn cold, and we're going to stop breathing, and we're going to go to face our Maker. And Jesus is Lord, and you want to bow your knee to him, and he will set you free. He will make you new. He will give you new meaning and purpose, and he will put a message in your heart for deliverance and healing of others. My brother, who was going to go back to that little town just to be in the church, now trains missionaries. Travels all over the world. He hated flying in planes, and now he's on them all the time. Last night, after midnight, he had to go to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport to help a missionary that came in. And you got to watch out. I'll just warn you, watch out when you give yourself to God, because you never know what he's going to do with you. But you have hope. Everybody has a story. You just got to meet Jesus, and that's why we hope now. We can hope right now. So King David said it this way in Psalm 27. Lord, my light and my salvation, I shall not fear. The Lord is the strength of my life. In him shall I be confident. Though war shall rise up against me, my heart shall not fear. Though an host should encamp, in this will I be confident. One thing have I desired of the Lord, and that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord in his tabernacle, to inquire him. For in time of trouble he shall lift me up. He shall set me upon a rock, and now shall my head be lifted up above mine enemies round about. Therefore I will offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. Yea, I will sing praise to the Lord. Hear, O Lord, when I cry unto thee with my voice. Have mercy upon me and answer me. Leave me not, neither forsake me. When thou said, seek ye my face. My heart said unto thee, thy face, Lord, will I seek. Hide not thy face far from me. Leave me not, neither forsake me. When my father and my mother let me down, the Lord will lift me up. I would have fainted if I had not seen the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage. Wait, I say, on the Lord, and he shall strengthen thine heart. I want you to have that anchor. I want you to live fearless. I want you to quit worrying about what people think. There's people that can't stand me. You know what? God loves me, and I say, if you don't love me, you got a problem, you know? I don't have to live to make everybody happy. I don't have to do church in a way I don't want to do it. I get to be who I want to be, and the only anchor, the only thing that can bring you that is Jesus. No relationship, no amount of money, no stuff. I've had the stuff. No pleasure of this life can bring you the anchor to be fearless. But Jesus, give your life to Jesus today. Be like Legion, and you get a do-over. You get a new you. Let's pray. Father, I thank you for my audience. I feel embarrassed sometimes if I go overboard, but I don't care if it's for you, and I know your Spirit can invade my mistakes and my language. You can make it better, and I ask for that right now. There may be someone here who is like I was, seeking, and they need hope. And I pray for you to give them that hope right now in Christ. Because we can hope now every day in Christ. If there's someone going through a hard time, God, give them healing. Give them love. Help them feel your love. Love is what we need to give that spark in our eyes to keep making friends that last forever. And Father, may we always be a place, a haven of hope. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's stand and worship God.
If everything comes down to love, then just what am I afraid of? When I call out your name, something inside awakes in my soul. How quickly I forget I'm yours. I'm not my own. I've been carried by you all my life, and everything rides on hope and love. Everything rides on faith somehow. And when the world has broken me down, your love sets me free. And when my life is like a storm, rising waters, all I want is the shore. You say I'll be okay and make it through the rain. You are my shelter from the storm. And everything rides on hope now. And everything rides on faith somehow. When the world has broken me down, your love sets me free. I am not my own. I've been carried by you all my life, and everything rides on hope now, and everything rides on faith somehow. So when the world has broken me down, yeah, your love sets me free. And everything rides on hope now, and everything rides on faith somehow. So when the world has broken me down, yeah, your love sets me free. You become my heart's desire, and I will sing your praises higher. 'Cause your love sets me free. Your love sets me free. Your love sets me free.
Hey, let's give it up for the most dangerous worship band on the West Coast. These guys have been working hard. And also wanted you to know that Wes is here. Wes used to be the pastor at Magalia Community, and he's still doing ministry. He and his wife are gifted in arts and drama, and I've heard so many great things about that. And he is doing a movie right now, producing a movie, a Christian movie, and he needs some people, some sit-ins, some extras, and there's going to do, I think, 3 scenes. Right? Is that 3? And this is your chance. This is your chance. So see Wes afterwards if you'd like to be a part of that, so you can sign up for that. Now it's time to pray for our offering. Amen. Amen. Father, thank you for letting me work with a church, a group of people that applaud giving. It's what Jesus was all about. Father, I mean what I said about living a dream here. I know I'm blessed, and I don't want to ever take it for granted. And I thank you for all the love here, and the outreach here, and the volunteer revolution. And if there's someone here going through a hard time financially, help them just to focus on giving their heart to you and not feel guilty about the money thing. To start with the heart. And for those of us that are committed to the vision of hope, I pray that we'll give cheerfully as a form of worship and adoration to you. It's all yours anyway. And Father, make us a force of hope on the ridge and beyond to your glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Hey, before we give, what is our purpose? Building relationships that last forever. How do we do that? Love God, love people. So remember, every single day this week, in Christ, we always have hope. Thanks for being here, everybody.
Praises ring. Let the praises ring. Let the praises ring. Here we go. the praises ring. Let the praises ring. Let the praises ring.
Have an awesome week.